Welcome to another episode of Badass Records Podcast, where we talk about you and some of your favorite albums. If you're in the KC area and would like to come on the show, hit me up at badassrecordspodcast@gmail.com. Merch available at badassrecordspodcast.com. It's the Badass Records Podcast, with video on YouTube, audio where you stream. New episodes every Thursday, and introducing featured episodes airing Sunday evenings at 8 p.m. Central Standard, only on Counterclockwise KC Internet Radio. This will be episode 66, Badass Records Podcast, where we chat a little bit about you and some of your favorite music. Jason Buice. Buice. I wrote it.
Yeah, it's pronounced like it sounds like dice.
Okay.
But with a B.
Sure. Fresh in off the streets from LFK.
Yeah, from Lawrence.
How long you been calling Lawrence home?
It's coming up on 7 years now.
Okay.
I've been out there, met my now wife, Allison.
Nice.
We started dating and hit it off. And
Where did you move to Lawrence from?
Kansas City.
Okay, so you born and raised here then?
No.
Oh.
I grew up, I was born in Houston, Texas.
Okay.
And then my family, we moved all over the United States.
Really?
When I was a kid. We probably moved, on average, like every 3 years.
Okay. Non-military?
No, not military.
Okay,
Yeah.
just stuff going on?
Yeah, just a dad who thought the grass was always greener.
I was going to use that phrase myself. Siblings?
Yeah. Older brother, John, who's an artist here in Kansas City. Johnny B.
Johnny B.
Art, yeah, over at Imagine That. And
what kind of firm is that?
Imagine That is it's an organization here in Kansas City that basically people with special needs. My brother has Down syndrome.
Okay.
And so people with special needs go there and they start to discover their artistic abilities and qualities. And,
very nice.
And then they're guided on creating art that they actually sell.
Okay.
And market.
Cool.
And, yeah.
So just the two of you? Sibling-wise?
And a younger sister.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And how did mom and dad meet?
They met in Colorado through, I think it was like some kind of church retreat or something like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So in all of the different places you lived, were they playing music in the home when you guys were young?
Yeah, and I had a really strong musical upbringing, I guess you would say.
Really?
Yeah, I was really encouraged not only to listen to music, but also to play music.
Okay, cool.
So that was good.
What kind of things were they into?
So my dad listened to a lot of the old country,
nice.
Hank Williams,
sure.
And Willie Nelson and Johnny Cash and all that. And he had grown up in Georgia and then went to Baylor in Texas.
Yeah.
And so that's how I ended up born in Texas. But he was out at Baylor, played basketball there. And so, and he was raised like Southern Baptist and was expected to be a preacher and things like that. And so he was raised not only around gospel, like Elvis, and he played guitar and he would play Elvis songs and stuff like that and impersonate Elvis.
Nice.
And, when he was younger. But so that was really influential. My dad was always singing these songs.
Awesome.
One of the earliest ones I remember hearing was Hang Down Your Head, Tom Dooley.
Okay.
Like he would sing that, or he would sing You Are My Sunshine.
Oh, nice. Sure.
And then he also, later he did Square Dance Calling.
Really?
Yeah.
And that's not like a high-paced thing like an auctioneer.
Yeah, kind of like, it's that grab your partner and spin around and do-si-do.
Yeah, fun.
Yeah, and then he really got into that, and he built his own PA system.
Okay.
In the garage, and then which I eventually started using for my music, But yeah, and he would practice in the garage. So I would hear him practicing square dance calls, stuff like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he really got into it. And then as for my mom, she was very religious, and so raised in Virginia and Southern Baptist, and was expected to marry a preacher.
Oh, all right. The stars are aligning.
Yeah. And so she listened to a lot of, it was very like, I remember a lot of soft rock, like Anne Murray, Barry Manilow, John Denver.
I hear soft rock and immediately think Air Supply.
Yeah, I don't remember any Air Supply. But like the easy listening sounds of the 70s.
Sure.
Yeah. And the stuff that you could play around your children, and But I also remember like she would take us to Pizza Hut or something like that, and there'd be a jukebox, and like AC/DC would be playing. And I was like, what is this?
Right.
And
I can see that room now and the jukebox.
Yeah.
A lot of red.
Yeah, a lot of red. Yeah.
Cups,
and
carpet.
Salad bar. And,
yes.
And then, or I remember hearing AC/DC. I can't remember what else I remember hearing on the radio, but or on the jukebox. But I also had a little like AM radio with the one earplug.
Okay.
And I used to play that in bed before I'd fall asleep, listen to the radio. And so I remember hearing the Eagles.
Okay.
And like Take It Easy.
Nice.
Yeah. And just hearing those harmonies and like, wow.
Yeah.
Just being like enamored with it and just, like, how are they doing this?
That's awesome. So encouraged to play instrument.
Yeah. So then we eventually, let's see, I had a record player growing up. That's the other big music memory is I had this little, I guess it played 45s.
Okay.
And I remember I had Ronnie Millsap, Long Way Around the World.
Okay.
And All the Gold in California is in a bank in the middle of Beverly Hills, and somebody else's name. Gatlin Brothers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I remember those two songs specifically.
Okay.
And so being probably like 6 or 7 and like playing those just over and over and
nice.
over,
Were those gifts from mom and dad, these 45s?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And so then, let's see. So after that, so getting encouraged to play music. When we kind of settled in Colorado for a short period, or where we thought we were going to settle, it was around when I was in 4th grade, so probably 11 years old or something. They, had the option, you can learn an instrument, and asked us at school, what we want to learn, and I went home, I said clarinet.
Okay.
And that came from, we had visited a mall when I was younger. I don't remember how old, like maybe 8 or 9. And a symphony was in the mall playing Tchaikovsky, the Peter and the Wolf.
Okay.
Is it Peter and the Wolf? Tchaikovsky or? Peter and the Wolf. It might not be anyway.
Sure.
Peter and the Wolf.
Yeah.
And I remember, and then I think I had the album with
the,
maybe the Sean Connery, or whatever with the narration.
Sure.
And I always remembered, well, my mom played oboe when she had learned oboe.
Okay.
And so I knew that always she would get it out sometimes.
Cool.
And not really play it.
Right.
But yeah, so I remember seeing that, and then I said clarinet. So I started that, and then that. We also had an organ at home, like a Yamaha.
Cool.
And so I
did it have multiple? Okay.
Not the multiple. It was just it was one.
One. Okay.
Yeah, but it had like you could play country or disco
Sure.
or blues beats, and then whatever you put the beat to, the bass or the banjo or whatever instrumentation would align. So I was learning different beats and things like that at a very young age, but not really realizing. But remember hearing the difference between a swing and a, like disco or whatever.
That makes me think of the stories or studies, that talk about brain development and learning something like an instrument or a foreign language or something, it like if you do that while your brain is still developing, it sort of can guide the way that the brain develops, and so then you kind of have that, canal or whatever. But later, it's already, your brain's already formed, and so it's harder.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that just scientifically is a fascinating notion, but I also love the idea of music kind of literally shaping a part of, your brain and who you are.
Right.
So that's cool stuff.
Yeah. And so basically from there, like when I started playing clarinet, I would play, I remember playing a song called Alley Cat.
Okay.
Yeah. It's an older song.
Sure.
And then I was playing, like King of the Road. And things like that, which will come back to us
right
later in my story.
Okay.
Remember, what's his name who wrote King of the Road? Roger, I can't think of his last name.
Let's see here. King of the Road, Roger Miller.
Yeah, Roger
1965.
Miller. Yeah. Okay, so remind me of Roger Miller later. So basically, I also started playing a lot of Neil Diamond on the clarinet.
Okay.
His whole album dropped of, the one with Coming to America and all that. And that was widely popular. I think they did a movie, and that was the kind of stuff my parents would listen to.
Okay.
So I learned to play like those songs on clarinet.
Nice.
And then I, in addition to just learning whatever, and I was always like first or second chair, and all that. And so that went all the way into high school, and then that's when I discovered guitar.
Yeah.
And a lot of my friends started playing guitar, and I was skateboarding at the time, and so.
And where are you?
That we were still in Colorado, but we had moved.
What part?
We had moved
where all have you lived in Colorado?
So Aurora, Littleton.
Sure.
And that's actually, and then Denver.
Okay.
Yeah, downtown
Sure.
Denver.
Nice.
And so basically we did the high school, and then I did marching band and stuff, but I got really tired of it. I was getting picked on, and like,
oh, for real?
Yeah, just people like, I remember I had a uniform hat on that just looked totally dorky.
Right.
And, some guy came up and grabbed it, and it felt humiliating, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And, a lot of jokes about playing the clarinet and stuff like that.
Sure.
So basically I started learning guitar. I had a friend, who built electric guitars, and he was 16 and doing this in his garage. Yeah.
Wow.
And what's great, his name was Jeff Woodman.
Okay.
And he was building Woodman guitars.
Nice.
Yeah. And so he was teaching me a lot about that instrument. And he
how in the heck did he know how to do that?
His dad, just got him into it, and crafting, and it was a lot of it was just buying the parts and then sanding. I think, and then assembling.
Yeah. And then, you put like some polyurethane on it.
Gluing, and then painting.
Yes.
And he would paint his own guitars.
Cool.
Too. Yeah, he did it all. And it was amazing.
Yeah.
Watching, and it's not like he had a whole production. He did like 2 guitars, but that's impressive.
Shoot, one is impressive.
Yeah. And so that was really cool. Learned a lot from him. And honestly, he's someone I wish I could reconnect with. I've tried to look him up and stuff like that, and can't find him again. That's
always a trip to me.
Yeah.
As much as our data is
that we're connected.
Yeah. Wow.
So anyhow, that was great. And then I had another friend playing, and they had really nice rigs and stuff, and they could play like Def Leppard, Hysteria all the way through, and play the solos and all that. And they were really great guitar players. Talented kids. And so
real. That's, I mean, I'm a 74 baby.
Okay.
So
I'm 72.
When Pyromania came out, and it was the birth of MTV, and it was like mind blowing.
Right.
And then like by the time Hysteria came out, I was like, oh, that's cool. But now Hysteria is a way better record.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Like that. I got goosebumps hearing that riff, that
riff,
title track riff.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's cool.
Yeah, exactly. And so they were playing stuff like that, and he taught me Stairway.
Okay.
And so
including solo.
No.
Okay, okay.
No, just all the parts.
Sure.
You know, and so, and then
Could you do the diddle-a-dee,
Oh yeah, yeah, the trill.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole song is beautiful.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But and then I was playing. I had learned about The Cure, and I think I put that in my 5,
Yeah.
You know.
Fantastic list.
Yeah,
I mean,
thanks. Yeah,
very geeked out by it for a lot of
well,
different
and I
reasons.
could have
but
chosen a lot.
Sure,
and
we'll
even
get to
those,
all that.
Yeah, but yeah. So I was listening to a lot of Cure, and that album, "Kiss Me, Kiss Me," and that was definitely something I wasn't allowed to have, you know, at the time. And so it was like I'd come home, listen to that, get out my guitar, try to play along with it, put the album away, you know.
Yeah, we'll talk more about it, but that was a first listen for me.
Oh, really?
And the second Cure record since I started this project, which the other one was the next record, Disintegration, which was also a first listen. But listening to Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, there's nothing inappropriate about it, but it's like, I don't know where to put this.
Right.
Kinda,
Well, the visual on it is just like, what is this?
Oh,
you know?
okay, right.
Yeah, what, you know, and that was a lot of it was, and then I think that's kind of around the time, we're talking the 80s now.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm not sure if that's when Tipper Gore started crusading against, you know, and
PMRC,
and, you know, and all that stuff. Maybe that came a little bit later in 89 or 88. But
you got the holy trinity of Dee Snider, John Denver, and Frank Zappa,
right,
going to Congress to say no, thank you, sir.
Yeah, exactly.
And they were all like,
yeah,
we don't know what to do. These people are intelligent and prepared and determined.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Dee Snider, I saw him in a bar in Kansas City one time, and I was like really intimidated, but I got close and was just, hey, and then walked away.
Nice.
Yeah. But just because that, you know, when that broke, and so having that kind of like, you're not allowed to listen to certain kinds of music. We want you to listen to, you know, Petra or what was it, Stinger or what? I forget.
Sure.
Like the horrible like.
What was
Christian rock.
What was the name of that Twisted Sister record with "You're Not Gonna Take It"?
Yeah.
But it was right there in the MTV, and like he's wearing makeup, and it's depicting like kids acting up in class, or teacher. Is the teacher rude to the kids in school, and that's why they're like, we're not going to take it?
Maybe, yeah.
And then Burn in Hell is on there.
Oh, really?
There's a track called, it was a hit.
Yeah, I remember We're Not Going to Take It.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't think I had the album or anything, but I had License to Ill.
Okay.
And I had that cassette.
Okay.
And that was another one that I kept around.
Nice.
You know, like I had to hide. Which just seems hilarious, you know, that I was doing that. But
they, you know, think that they're sculpting you into the right version of a human I mean,
right. Yeah, I didn't want to disappoint them.
Right.
Know? So, you know, basically that's where my influences were. And then we started moving, and it was bad. We moved from a really stable environment where I'd been from like 6th to 11th grade. We moved into 3 or 1, moved once and then moved twice, and then so we moved twice in Colorado, and then my dad said, we're moving to Kansas City, and brought me to Independence.
Oh my!
In the summer before my senior year of high school. Yeah. And so
which is I don't
well no so
I go there for very specific reasons. I play hockey there on Wednesday nights.
Oh, okay, at the arena.
And I have customers that I go see, but I don't ever hang out there.
Yeah.
But in the in and out process, it always kind of feels like just clunky and odd, and the collection of folks is just...
It's old school, you know. It's really old school, and you know, it's the pride of Truman and stuff like this, and and so. Well, you know, it was like stepping back into time for me, because I'd mostly grown up in Denver and then California a little bit and stuff like that. And so for my mom, I think she felt right at home because it's very conservative, you know. And then basically my dad got here, lost a job that he came here for, kind of started looking for all this different work. Meanwhile, their marriage fell apart.
Okay.
And then as I finished up my senior year and went off to college, they divorced.
Damn, man.
And so
that's a rough age for,
it was rough
for all
for,
of
it
that.
was just boom, boom, you know. Like,
the moves and then the change.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I'm sure there are parts of the Denver area that aren't fantastic, but for the most part, it's like.
Well, it was definitely like I was being raised in a more open, like where I went to school was an open campus. You know, we were free to leave and stuff like. And then in my senior year, it's like, no, you can't leave campus. You know, we don't let people do that.
Right.
And I actually finished up at my semester, but then stayed. You know, because I didn't know what to do.
Of course.
And then I was able to decide on college from that. And in that move, a lot of great things happened too. I started writing songs. Like I found that emotional outlet from the move. One of the first songs I ever wrote was because of that move, you know, and the emotional feelings, you know, I was having from losing friends and all that.
So you didn't go the route of like angsty, frustrated, lashing out teen. You just kind of turned to music.
Not really. I mean, I definitely had that, but not really, you know, like anything extreme.
Your parents were never like concerned.
I don't think so.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think so. But I basically, you know, just started. I got into theater and I auditioned for plays. I was doing that in Colorado, so I continued that, and I got like good parts in plays, and I got a part in the musical, and I joined choir and started really developing my voice.
Cool.
And that was one thing I'd always wanted to sing, and I'd always been trying to sing in Colorado and never felt like I was getting there.
Okay.
And then that changed after the move. Like I felt like, okay, I found my voice.
Oh, there's a silver lining.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then that led to meeting people, starting bands, you know, meeting musicians that I still know today, you know.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So was there I'm fascinated by this notion of the music that we listen to because it's what our parents put on. Mm-hmm. And then if you love music or develop a relationship with the idea of music, eventually like you begin to build your own preferences, collection, what have you. So
Right.
was there an album that was a first love or a first purchase that was kind of you on your own? I mean, you mentioned License to Ill and
those albums, the Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, and the License to Ill, and then I remember some guys in Colorado that were into music made a mixtape for me, and it had REM and some other music on it that it was like a first time exposure to REM,
Sure.
a lot of REM, and some U2.
Okay.
And so then that's when I kind of started listening to U2 October,
Yeah.
and
Cool.
Unforgettable Fire.
Yeah.
And so I owned that. Too,
Nice.
you know,
And
and that was all before the move. So I was getting
Okay.
a nice little base. And then once I got out to Independence, one of the first places I went was a record store.
Yeah.
You know, or CD store.
Sure.
Now,
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah.
And
You remember what you bought on that trip?
I bought Sinead O'Connor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which one?
The Nothing Compares
Okay,
to You.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. Because I just was like, wow, her voice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then after that, I think I got Violent Femmes.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about first show? Were you an early concert goer? Or?
Yeah. My first show was actually White Lion Aerosmith.
Okay.
Yeah, in Denver. And then I went to Monsters of Rock.
Okay.
In 1989. And
Wow.
I saw Metallica and
Sure.
Scorpions. And, yeah.
So first band.
That I was in?
Yeah.
I guess technically it would be called the Barefoot Boys. It
Okay.
was with this guy, Sean McAnally. He's now in a band called Fur in the Fang
Okay.
with Zach Hodson and some other folks. I'm not sure their names.
Sure.
But yeah, that was like one of the first ones. And then I was in a band called like Sunny Delight, but we also called ourselves Nice Cactus.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are you like getting together to practice, and then also do you have gigs? Or?
Yeah, the Barefoot Boys was kind of like that, and then we were playing like garage gigs,
Sure.
high school parties.
Yeah.
We played one of them, I think, you know, and then
It's more than none.
Yeah, and then I think I remember playing a lot of like high school parties,
Okay.
and stuff like that, and then doing choir, and that was actually a big deal. We went to state, and it was, I mean, we had like regular choir, and then like the kind of like show choir where we go around in like the VFW and perform, and like we get to leave during the day, and
right,
you know,
yeah.
So that was cool, and that was really awesome getting to work with other people that could really sing, and stuff like that.
So how did we connect on Instagram?
So yeah, we connected through my band Chauk.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, you messaged me there.
Yeah, but I
And
think you followed.
probably, yeah.
And
I think I probably just found you because so Chauk is the most recent project that I've started.
CHOWK.
Yeah,
correct. Okay.
And that the name comes from I wanted to do like a Lawrence name.
Okay.
And so I was thinking like chalk.
Yeah.
And when I started looking into that in meanings and things like that, I came across Chauk, which is a Hindi word for marketplace, bazaar, or where roads cross
I like
or
it.
intersect.
Very cool.
And I basically like messaged the bass player who we'd already started working together. And I was like, what do you think of these names? And I threw out like Ghosts of Oread.
Oread.
Yeah, which is there's Oread is a hill, and there's a like a hotel in Lawrence.
Okay. Yeah, I'm like, wait, I know that name.
Yeah, it's in Lawrence, and it's kind of a Lawrence reference. And then I think I said spy balloons or something.
Okay.
and chalk, and then I said I'm really leaning on chalk. And then once I found out about Chauk, I was like, okay, I think this is the one. And he liked it, you know. And
okay. So it's you and a bass player,
and then
you guys met how?
So Dane and I met. I went to see. I was playing a gig at Manor Records last November, and it was with Major Matt Mason, and then Chris Bruders was there with some other guys.
Okay.
So that was the bill, and I was playing solo, and Dane is the bass player in Major Matt Mason. He came up after I played, and he was like, "Man, I like your stuff." So we connected, and that doesn't happen often where somebody will approach me, you know. And so it was great, you know. And so I messaged him, and I was like, "If you're not too busy, would you want to work on a project?" You know, because once I heard him play, I was like, "Wow, he's so good," you know. And
he's playing electric, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Bass, yeah. Bass guitar,
right?
Yeah, because he really utilizes the entire instrument.
Nice,
you know, he's great. So from there, he said he would be interested, and we found the time and started. You know, he started driving out to Lawrence, and
where's he stay?
Lee Summit.
Okay,
but now I think he's in Graham Valley.
Okay,
yeah,
all right,
yeah.
So just the two of you,
and then we put out, you know, notice that we needed a drummer, and we found Zach Hodson.
Okay.
And Zach has been in many bands in Kansas City, but he's currently in Killer City as a drummer, and then he's in Fur and the Fang, and I think he's a singer. I think he's it's producing his music, and then he sings and plays guitar, and multi-talented.
Nice.
Yeah.
So the three of you.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
how long have you been a threesome?
2 weeks. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how long has Chauk had a visible online presence?
Collectively, we've been on there for a few years, but just starting the Instagram though, you know, we're brand new. Yeah,
cool.
I just started it in March.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I guess
It's because I go out and look for people.
Cool. Okay.
And I try to find opportunities
cool.
just like this.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you knew, I hosted a podcast last year.
Oh no,
that was similar. It's called Here for the Music.
Oh, like HEAR. Nice.
Yeah, that's on Spotify.
How many episodes did you do?
I did like 32.
Okay.
Yeah,
and then
it was difficult to book, and I wanted to find a situation like this, and I looked into the library, and it wasn't quite. I didn't. It was going to be a little bit difficult.
The library.
In Lawrence.
Okay.
Yeah, they have a space. They have a creator space
where you could.
Yeah, they have like a a studio.
Okay.
They have a music studio. They have a lot of cool stuff at that library.
So difficult to book. Please talk to me about that.
Just, reaching out to people and maybe they wanted a list of questions first, and it was like, or they just didn't have the time, or they want to do it and then they didn't want to do it.
Oh my God. I feel like you're talking about my story.
There you go. And so, I mean, I understand it, and things come up and things happen.
Yep.
And I think it just, I had this idea I was going to do like 52 episodes, and I even kind of knew who I wanted my last interview of the year to be, and I had all these.
How often were you dropping?
Plans, and I was doing weekly.
Okay.
I was doing twice a week,
Oh,
and then
man.
I went to weekly.
Okay.
And the twice a week was wild. It was a lot of interviews.
Yeah.
And then the other thing was that I was having a thing where I had a hard time with scheduling, right? And then so maybe I would have like 3 interviews, but I'd need to wait to publish those. And so the interviews were being published a month after they were happening. And
it's not the worst.
Some people were like,
Sure.
So I don't know. It was, it's definitely, I admire anyone. You're at 66.
You're 60, execute order 66 for the Star Wars nerds out there.
Nice. And so, it's like, that's admirable, because it is a lot of work.
It's so much work.
Yeah.
And I mean, a lot of thoughts on that. One, it was about a year to just get it ready, right?
Okay.
And then, and that's this room. A version of this room existed, but I wanted it to be soundproof. But that's a story for a different day. Anyway, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm not handy, but I figured out a way to make this table. I bought all this stuff, and then it's like, now I got to teach myself how to use it all.
Right.
Which is like,
that's cool. Yeah.
I'm a visual learner, and like paper and pen. So trying to teach myself with the internet, it's like all of a sudden I've got 7 links open and 3 different videos, and my brain is like, stop.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
Luckily, I connected with somebody who came. I paid them. They came and taught me a couple things in Pro Tools first.
Okay.
And then my cousin, shout out to cousin Bob, has done sound for UMKC for a long time.
Okay.
And I'll stop by and check it out. And he's like, that's cool that guy taught you those things in Pro Tools first, but you can't edit video in there. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Everything I just learned.
Yeah.
But there's some similarities. So anyway,
Right.
I mean,
Well,
I wouldn't
that's
be
the
here
thing.
without him coming over many times to be like this, and
Coach
then
you.
a couple
Yeah.
Zoom calls.
But
But
that's definitely what I was lacking, is that extra person to kind of
it's just
walk me
luck.
through it. That's just how I learn, is like watching and
now it's
you know,
silly because
yeah.
I used primarily 2 programs, and if I had to guess, I probably use 1,000th of what they're capable of doing.
Yeah.
Because I just do the things that I
That you
do,
know,
and then
and
I
yeah.
move on to. And
Yeah.
I'm sure there's amazing things that I could. Probably some time saving
Yeah.
steps, but it's like.
Yeah.
Anyway, so okay, now I've got all the space and I've got the stuff, and now it's going to be amazing because I know tons of people from 20 years of restaurant, experience, and I've always kind of been in and out of the music scene, just like as a showgoer and
Cool.
whatever. But lots of people are like, no, or. You ask somebody on a whim and they're like, yeah, and then you reach out privately and they're like, I don't want to do that. Or
Yeah.
people that just are jazzed, and then their time comes and they just no show, and you
Yeah.
never hear from them again. And
Yeah.
so I'm in funny spots all the time. Like it was weird when school started. Like just people were bailing left and right. I had a full like July, August, and then so I was booked for like 2 a week for a handful of weeks. I was like,
Yeah.
this is going to be great.
Yeah.
And then all these people, anyway, when I started, it was like, I got to interview you and get it out, the next week.
Oh, yeah.
And then eventually I built up a little bit of a bank. And at one point I had like 4 or 5. And that, to me, I recognize the feeling of doing this. And then 5 weeks later, but it's not like I'm interviewing anybody that has a timely kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. I did have some people who were like, could we release it on this day?
Sure.
Because I've got this dropping.
Right. Yeah.
And so I did that for a couple people. And
my first one will happen this week.
What's that?
Where a timely thing.
Oh, okay.
So I had a guy's ready to go, and then I connected with a musician who's playing Lemonade Park on Cinco de Mayo.
Okay.
And so I just held the other dudes and then did his, and I'll drop it Thursday with I recorded a promo last night that's like tomorrow morning on KKFI, and then tomorrow evening you can, and so it's fun. It's like the first opportunity. But point being, I had this bank, and then coming out of the holidays, I kind of hit this wall of like, I got to figure out new ways to try to connect with people, because trying through the people that I know I've tapped that. Yeah. I only know so many people. So
I'll definitely, when it airs, I'll put it out on my socials. And
awesome.
If anyone watches this long, you should come on the show.
I've had some people, I don't want to be on the internet. It's a little too personal.
It's intimidating.
Yeah, I get it.
And that was, another side of it was that, when you talk about music, I found that people reveal a lot more personal, than you would expect in a conversation, because music is so personal.
Yeah, endearing.
Because how it's part of that web of development.
Yeah.
So it's just it's interlocked with all these different memories, and some of them maybe aren't so pleasant,
right?
And things like that.
So Here for the Music, HEAR is on Spotify.
Yeah,
and
we did it. I did it through Anchor.
Okay,
I would
came
connect
across that
with people. I just had people call, and then that was another. Sometimes the call would drop, or like it was a whole nother issue in itself.
66 strong and all in person.
Yeah, there you go. That's awesome. Yeah.
I mean, I haven't even learned. I don't even know the first step into. Obviously, people do virtual. Yeah, I'd like to avoid at all costs.
Yeah.
But kudos to you, man. I mean, it's very like. I don't know if you had video, but I mean...
No, I didn't. I wanted to get to video, and that's the thing. I just felt like I wasn't going to have time to edit.
Well, it's...
so I admire that you're actually doing video. Because
3 hours for every hour,
yeah,
man. I mean, and then it's like... one of my favorite pieces is... So, a lot of people are like... I've had people show up with music. It's like, we're not listening to music because, copyright.
That's right.
You got to find all these backdoor loopholes, and it's like I watch people do reaction videos, and they put in the hours and hours for one upload or one video or whatever, and then
it's taken down.
Yeah, and it's like I can't do that.
Right.
I don't have the time to fiddle. Yeah. When it's like the booking, the recording, the editing. I need to check those off and move on to the next thing, or else I find myself behind.
Yeah.
But so one of my favorite things is I do put a little 10-second intro and outro for each episode, and those are typically different every time. But even then, I'll get copyright stuff.
Wow.
But it's I'm finding that I think that really the artists can drive how. How consequential use of their stuff can be. Some artists, it's just like, they don't care. And some you get the flag and it'll say like, it's fine to use this. But I think the idea there is like, if that episode were ever monetized, that money would go to the, whatever. I mean,
it's a complicated thing.
Yeah, we got way off track. But I'm so glad you shared that story, because today, getting ready this morning, I was like, do I want to? I'm pleased that I got it off the ground and have done a full year plus, and is 120. You know, is 2 year, or I'm sorry, 104. I guess would be two years, right? Because 52 is
52.
So
yeah.
104 is that? Do I? You know, it'd be interesting if I get there, if I still have the steam to. You know, in thinking about that, I was thinking about you and man, this guy's driving from Lawrence. It's like super cool. I have had another Lawrence musician on, Tanya Sieber. Episode 4, she's like a singer songwriter.
Cool.
But just, you know, time, you know, gas, all of so I'm very grateful.
Oh yeah, well I'm grateful because, you know, starting out a new band, you know, it's like it's I have a friend who I consult on what should I do next. You know, we've got this coming up, like we're recording a single this month, so he's like, you need to get out and talk about it.
Right,
you know?
right.
And so we're gonna be appearing on, I don't know when this will air.
It'll be a couple weeks.
Okay. So on Mother's Day, I don't know if this will air
yeah.
after Mother's Day.
Yeah,
but
no. Well, Mother's Day is at the end of.
It's 5/14.
5/14.
Yeah.
So let's just.
We're gonna be on Under the Radar.
Okay.
On KKFI.
Let me just write that down. Under the Radar.
Yeah, it's 8 to 10 p.m. and we're gonna play live at 9 p.m. Play 3 songs.
5/14, Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Great.
Yeah.
So Chowk is brand new. You've got the Instagram. I saw that you've got a link tree.
Yeah.
That has a Bandcamp, but I don't think it.
Right.
Something was wonky when I tried.
Yeah, I need to look into that. There's nothing on the Bandcamp right now. We're gonna release on June 2nd, I think.
Okay.
That's gonna be the first Friday in June.
Nice.
And that's Bandcamp Friday.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're gonna release a single that we're gonna be recording with
debut, like first thing out there ever for Chow.
First band single. Yep.
Drums, bass, and guitar. Okay.
So recording that with Pat Tomac, who he's mostly known for, he was a drummer for the Rainmakers.
Oh, yeah.
And he has a studio in his house.
Okay.
And I recorded my album. It's called Both Sides.
You have an album.
Yeah.
Nice.
That I recorded there. I hired David George to produce the album. And David's done a lot in Kansas City. And they were playing he wrote a song called Hey Kansas City. And they were playing that down at the Draft.
Nice. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so David helped me produce Both Sides with Pat. He did the mixing and engineering, and
that's so exciting.
We had it mastered at Weights and Measures by Dwayne Trower.
Okay.
And
I know none of these names, by the way.
Well, hopefully people watching will go, "Yep, I knew who that is."
Right.
And Pat does a lot of work with other bands in Kansas City. Plays drums and so on. And
you're throwing down some coin for this project.
What's that?
None of that sounds free.
Oh,
to you, the artist, to record, mix, produce, engineer.
Right. Yeah. But people work together, and
sure.
They realize that nobody. I don't know anybody who has the big money, so
right.
We're all kind of like helping each other out.
Sure. So Both Sides exists, and can it be found?
Yeah, it's on Bandcamp.
Okay.
It's on my Bandcamp.
Okay.
Yeah. So and that was a good experience.
Which is Jason Buice?
Yeah. Just Jason Buice on Bandcamp. Yeah.
Buice.
Buice.
Sorry.
Okay.
Bu. I knew that. Buice.
Yeah.
It's written down in front of me.
And so from that album, Roger Miller's son emailed me, and he was interested in producing. And he's done some stuff. He's done some compilation stuff. He worked with Willie Nelson and some other country artists. And so that was really cool because that came back from childhood, learning Roger Miller at a young age. And, being influenced.
How did that happen?
I think we connected through Instagram.
Okay.
Through some ads that I had run, and he just emailed and
meaning
said,
you boost a post or something like that?
Yeah. And I had boosted to producers, and
you can target people.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah. And so he emailed, and asked who produced my album, and we started talking, and I didn't know who he was at first, and then I showed David, and he goes, "That's Roger Miller's son, man."
Oh,
And,
okay.
yeah, and so basically, we couldn't work out anything. That's where I really would have needed to come up with some cheddar, so not just some, what'd you say, some corn?
Some coin.
Oh, coin. I
Yeah.
thought you said corn.
No, well, that too.
Yeah, I got a lot of that in Kansas. But yeah, so yeah, I would have needed some coin and some cheddar
Right.
to work with.
Yeah.
So,
Man, okay, so just one more time, please. Both sides on your Bandcamp.
yeah,
Easiest way to get there.
just go to Bandcamp and look me up.
Okay.
Yeah, and you'll see my artist page.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Man, that's so exciting that this is a fresh. I mean, it's fantastic that you recorded a record and have that material too. But
Yeah.
a new project has got to be exciting.
It is. Yeah, it's really uplifting. Last year, after I don't know if it was after that Manor Records show, I actually had COVID, and it wiped me out, and then that led to like a lot of depression over
No
the
kidding.
winter, and yeah, just really
Just a handful of months ago.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, just really
You got it late. It sounds
yeah,
like.
I did, and it was really honestly terrifying. I was just like minutes away from going, take me to the hospital, but I kept like trying not to go to the hospital because I was just.
It's
I did
also
not wanna
terrifying
be-
sounding.
Yeah, I was very terrified of being in the hospital. So, yeah, it was just really, it was a tough experience.
Dude, depression is no joke.
Yeah, and it just hit me hard. It's I lost my dad December 15th.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
2003.
Oh, okay, okay.
So, lost him along it, but when that date rolls around, it's tough, and then that's right around the holidays, and then my birthday.
I
and,
just had my 20-year last year of my dad's
of your
passing.
dad, yeah.
Which I'm in a place now where I feel like a crummy human being because I cried all those tears so many times, so many years ago, and now it's just a date. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
It's a lot deeper than that. I mean, I have 3 younger sisters, and they still experience things differently. I have a 12-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old son that never met him.
Yeah,
Which
same, yeah.
is kind of like that was like the wound that I thought would never heal, and now it's just scar tissue.
Yeah.
And like, not that I'm angry, but it's like it's hard not to do a little bit of the "it's not fair"
Right,
kind of thing, because
yeah.
he was the best. I
Yeah, I
mean,
get you.
not without
Yeah.
flaws.
Yeah.
And all the only grandpa they know is their mom's father, who's great and all, but he's not my dad.
Right.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that. I have a son who, I tell him about my dad
Yeah.
and what kind of person he was and
Yeah.
stuff. And that's never going to be enough.
Right.
So yeah, I get it. And also that distance, like of, that it doesn't impact me. Well, I guess it does impact me emotionally because it still got to me.
Sure.
This time it got to me because I don't have any photos of him. They all, I lost them.
No
yeah,
way.
it's,
None?
None. They all, basically, I was in a situation where I had all my stuff stolen. and it's a long story. I won't
Sure,
get into
sure.
it. But I had all of this personal stuff taken, and it didn't make any sense. It still doesn't make any sense. And, and so I have just my memories.
Oh my God, man. I am
remember
sorry.
them, and
Are you
so-
artistic at all? Can you whip up a painting?
I write a song about him.
Cool. Very
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
No
So-
pictures, man?
Yeah, no
None?
photos. Yeah,
Somebody in the family's...
I think maybe yeah.
Somebody's
I mean,
gotta-
there's some in the like back home at my mom's, in the photo albums and stuff like that.
You need to get
That I
one
could
for your
get.
house.
Yeah.
At least one.
Yeah, or something. Just I need to put some of them on Facebook so that I have something that pops up. You know what I mean? And that a friend reached out to me, and he he basically told me that, honor his memory, because I was telling him I was having trouble with it. And it's weird how it came back like 20 years later, it just hits like a tidal wave. But I think definitely from having COVID and that just taking me out and then just feeling exhausted from that, it just was like one thing kind of led to another. So by the end of February, I was ready to get to work.
Good for you, man.
And get back to doing something involved with music and with the community, and I was like, I want to start a band. And so that's when I reached out to Dane, and yeah.
Very cool. And your wife is fully supportive of...
Oh yeah, totally.
Awesome.
Yeah. She actually did a little singing on both sides.
Okay.
And then she has just always been super supportive of, that's why I married her.
How'd you guys
really
meet?
Supportive. We met just, online dating.
Sure. Okay.
And we went on a date and, just hit it off.
Cool.
And then, went on a few more dates.
Right.
And then a few months later, I moved out to Lawrence.
You gotta keep going on dates.
So, yeah.
I mean,
yeah, we do. So yeah,
it's you can things, projects, work, kid, whatever. That list is always there and growing, and speaking from experience, it can be easy to sort of slide into the roommate. Like still love each other, still are intimate and all that kind of stuff. But if you're not making the effort, it can be tough.
Yeah. It can be. Yeah. We like to cook together.
Cool.
That really, we do a lot. We go to eat and we love to cook togetger, and that's kind of our thing.
Do you have
music too.
Favorite spots to eat in Lawrence?
Yeah, actually, they're bringing back Genovese. They were open en masse and they closed, and now we just found out they're reopening. So that's gonna be awesome.
Cool.
That's actually one of our favorites. And then there's a lot of great restaurants in Lawrence.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So another long list is the ways in which I'm a nerd. And so whenever somebody sends me a list that's already arranged in chronological release, I'm like, this person knows what's up. And yours was that way.
Yeah.
So I want to move to that, but I wanted to give you props for doing that. I just like it. And if it's not, I'll rearrange it, and that's the order in which we'll address things.
Interesting.
Unless there's something quirky and I want to do it a little bit differently.
Yeah.
But so I was probably 6 or so when things between my folks were, unbeknownst to me, going south. And there was I picture it as clear as day. My dad came home one day with 2 records and had bought them for me. And we would listen to 8 tracks in his van, but they were Rupert Holmes' The Stranger, which has the Pina Colada song, and then Barry Manilow's One Voice. And it was kind of like this perpetual feeling of, I don't know. I mean, I know what these are, but I don't know what to do with them or where to put them now, but I know that I will soon. Just an odd feeling for like a 6-7-year-old kid. They split. My mom, they both remarried. My mom's new husband gets immediately transferred to Georgia. So we're in Atlanta. And, we now live in a home with a stereo, and he's got a record collection, and there is a copy of Thriller.
Oh, wow.
1982, obviously, Michael Jackson, and it was night and day having, because now, all right, now we put Barry Manilow on. My dad and I had a song on that particular record that was kind of ours. I listened to the Pina Colada song, but I didn't like dig any deeper into those records, not too much deeper into those records, but Thriller, fresh, new, immediately massive, took the world by storm.
Right.
I mean, just absolutely bananas. And then that's my first real dive into album cover art. You got the laid out and the fold and the baby tiger.
Right. Oh, nice.
So,
yeah, nice.
You know,
Yeah.
the list of
Wow.
things about this record is
Yeah.
longer than any of us have time for, but 9 tracks, 42 minutes, his 6th of 10. An epic record, as we all know, out in 82, and by the end of 83 had sold 32 million copies.
Wow.
To date, apparently it's sold 70 million, making it number 1 of all time.
Yeah.
So, you know, tell me about this record for you.
So I got this for Christmas, and I guess it must have been 82.
Okay.
And we also got Billy Joel, because that was a big, Uptown Girl was big.
Innocent Man?
Innocent Man, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
My first purchases,
Mm-hmm.
rode my bike to the mall and bought Led Zeppelin 4
Nice.
and Innocent Man.
Oh, wow, cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, and so, you know, we had those 2 albums, but, and I liked both of them, but this one stood out, I think, because I remember that fold out, you know, of him with the tiger, and then all the different songs, and then also seeing him on MTV, you know, and MTV was kind of new, and so now we're hearing music and then actually getting to see it, and there's stories going on.
That Beat It video with the knife fight.
Yeah, and Billie Jean.
Walk in with the gold.
The light,
Yeah.
and then the story behind, you know, what is this a song about, you know, and all this, and there was.
What does he mean? The kid is not my
Yeah,
son. I don't.
yeah,
How
right.
could that be?
And back then, stuff like that would start rumors, and then people would say, "Well, he's talking about this," and I mean, those rumors would become like urban myth kind of things.
Absolutely,
you know.
yes.
And this was before internet, and a lot of people
Way
won't understand
before.
that.
Yeah, I
you know,
know.
that. You know, it's not like you went outside and you talked to your friends on the street corner or through the football or whatever, you know, played with your friends, rode your bikes, and this might come up, you know. Oh, would you hear that, like, Billie Jean is because he got, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
You know. And, like, I remember, like, these kind of rumors that we tell each other. So, but then also the musicality of this album, and hearing, it was different from anything I'd really heard before. And I think that's
Absolutely.
because of I'm dropping the name of the producer, which is
Quincy
embarrassing.
Jones.
Yeah, Quincy Jones. And so I think, like, I remember even looking at that on the album, like, producer, and I wonder what that means. And, you know,
Engineer.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Mixed.
Yeah.
What do you?
and then it's a superb album, and it's got, like, I just noticed, like, what is that, 5 and 6 tracks, the 5th track is Beat It, and then 6th track is Billie Jean, and I think that was on the second side, so that's like a 1-2 punch.
Yep.
You know?
At which comes out, it's like Paul McCartney, for like the guy from the Beatles, you know,
Yeah.
featuring on what is it? The Girl Is Mine.
Yeah, The Girl Is
Yeah.
Mine, and then wow, The Girl Is Mine, and then
Mama Lovin',
also
Not a
PYT,
Fighter. Yes.
you know, yeah, and so. Yeah, it was a cool album, you know, and it just,
That's
I remember,
my you know, that little synth riff. Wah, wah, wah,
yeah,
kind of being like, what?
Yeah.
I don't hear other people making that kind of
yeah,
sound. What is that?
really soulful.
Yes.
You know? And so it was cool, and it was like, you know, like you said, you gave all the stats on it, and it was a huge album, and so I think it was in this safety zone of, like, it's okay for him
Sure.
to listen to this, and Billy Joel's okay,
Right.
You know,
You want to be starting
But
something's on
some
there
of the
too, right?
content, you know, what they're singing about is funny.
Yeah.
You know, when you look back on it.
Is You Want to Be Starting Something on that one? I think it is.
Yeah, that's the first track. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't think I could name a more preferred track for, like, to really get the juices flowing at a party or a
Right.
reception or
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, there's so many elements. You know, it's that fast, you know,
Yeah.
start, and then of course
The
the vocals
bass.
tell a story.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you got the sort of sped up Mama Say, Mama Saw, you know, and
yeah.
clapping, and it sounds like a party.
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
song. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
just create, like, you know,
Yeah.
show me where else you heard that in 1982 or 1983.
Right. Yeah. No, this is great. I love that you printed it out.
Oh
with
yeah,
the
man.
Tracks. That's
well,
awesome.
that's you know. So I have a tiny bit of vinyl right now. There was a tiny bit of vinyl in my home growing up, but I have a ton of cassettes. And that's where I would spend all my money, mowing, babysitting, when I actually had a job.
Yeah.
Just irresponsibly spending. And I would come home and shut the door and sit at my desk and pore over the cover art. Yeah. I was still buying cassettes in like 2000, just holding out. And eventually I started buying CDs.
Yeah.
But that was, even the smell of the liner note paper.
And sometimes it would smell different because the tape was maybe a little more high quality or something.
Right.
Yeah. I remember that.
But the reason is because now we don't have that anymore, unless you are sitting around with somebody that's got a bunch of vinyl, or you have a bunch of, or whatever the case may be. But mostly we're all just, digital streaming, and there's nothing to have and to hold. And, that Tanya, the gal from Lawrence, when she was here, she had put out an album, and was pleased that she did, but after the fact thought, is that an antiquated way of thinking? Because the world seems to be interested in singles and singles only. So maybe I would have gotten more eyeballs or listens or whatever if I would have done single. And I was like, no, do an album.
There's a lot of different theories on how you should release.
I know. Yeah. But anyway,
I think you should release how you feel it's probably most appropriate for you.
Right.
That's kind of what I've learned.
Right.
Because I went through that. That part of creating both sides was I need to do something more than just me and the guitar. I had recorded with a guy named Rob Nold 3 years before we did both sides, and it's called Independent, and that's on SoundCloud.
Okay.
And it's a 5-song EP. And we recorded on these really nice high density microphones, these ribbon mics.
Okay.
And then Rob is just a master at recording.
Nice.
And utilizing space. He had all these pillars that were made out of styrofoam, and you'd be surrounded by these pillars. And so that the sound is just totally right there.
Oh, wow.
That circle.
Cool.
And it felt like, we call it Stonehenge, Stonehenge. Nice. And, but I wanted to do more. I felt like, well, that didn't really hit. It didn't even really get played, so now I need to do a studio so that people can hear me with instrumentation, and then it was back to, well, now maybe I need to play electric guitar so that I sound fuller, and that actually did help. And then that started making some connections. But then it's like, I need a band,
right.
I
bet it sounds like you've had kind of good insight and good gut instinct to make the choices that you've made to this point. So
yeah, and that's the thing. I've just learned a lot, and then a lot of what I've learned is trust your gut, and go with it.
Absolutely.
So, and also what I've learned is if you have a dream, then write it down and make it a goal. If you have a dream, I want to release an album, then write that down, release album.
Yeah.
And then start working the steps to get to that.
I'm a big fan of conceptually. I don't always follow through. But short-term and long-term lists. Yeah. And there's just something I still have on the other side of this wall, my list for making this happen.
Cool.
And it's like
nice.
Whatever it was, 13 or 20 things, and the last one is still not crossed off. Because by the time that was done, I was like, we're going now. I'm doing, it's no longer about the space. Making that list, okay, I can't really see all the things, but I see them better than I didn't even know what they were before, and then to cross them off is just, as my son likes to say, that's so satisfying.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
So if we could look at Michael, did you collect any other of his records? Did you have anything else bad or
no? That was it.
Okay.
And that was a gift. And I think it was kind of like, I think another thing about the album was that I knew that this was mainstream, or secular. And
Right.
they were allowing me to,
Yeah,
and so
exciting.
So that was kind of interesting, it was a change, and that's why it was also a significant thing,
So if we could, just Michael Jackson, the artist, in a vacuum, and like, how do we qualify or quantify the mark or the impression on the American music spectrum with his body of work and his performances? And I mean, it's, if you think of it, every artist's contribution as a sound wave. I mean, he's got some high peaks on there.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, he was called the king of pop.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's probably the top right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just phenomenal.
Yeah.
So let's see. We go 82. Globally famous, absolute monster of a record. Skipped a couple years ahead to, for me, the then curious, the then mysterious, the then intriguing outfit known as U2. In 1984, we get Unforgettable Fire.
Yeah.
Which was a retrospective discovery for me. I mean, I knew of U2.
Yeah.
I had for sure heard Pride in the Name of Love, but they really didn't blast me in the face until Joshua Tree was out.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, okay, here's Rattle and Hum, and here's Unforgettable Fire. And then it would be way, way later that I would even know about Boy and War and October.
Yeah.
Who, ironically, I believe Steve Lillywhite produced all three of those first records of theirs.
Right.
And then for this one, they kind of collectively, including Steve Lillywhite, agreed a different direction would be best. Brian Eno and Daniel Lanois. Whoa.
Yeah. Like,
whoa.
what? Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even know that Daniel Lanois' name until like 98 when Bob Dylan put out Time Out of Mind.
Okay.
And used Daniel. And by then I knew of Brian Eno. Like he's kind of this ethereal, in and out of things. But was he a musician? What is he? But Jiminy Christmas, that is a duo.
Yeah.
Tell me about your discovery of this one.
So I think I got the cassette, and those friends had given me that mixtape, and that's, I'd listened to some, and so I started collecting U2's cassette tapes.
Cool.
And so I had Boy October War, and then I think Unforgettable Fire released, and so I went to the store and bought it. And that I remember reading the liner notes and seeing Eno and Lanois, and I had no clue who they were.
Of course.
Absolutely not. But you could hear it in how different this album sounds compared to War, Boy, October. And I almost put October because that really, I was just like,
which
wow,
one has Sunday Bloody Sunday?
That's War.
Okay.
Yeah, which was also a great album.
Yes.
But when you hear this album, it's like a shift in what they're doing. Even the songwriting seems more singer-songwriter or more intricate. Like they've now developed, maybe they do bridges or,
right.
And it's not just because they were kind of like power, I don't want to say punk, but some of that early stuff was really kind of on that edge.
Counterculture. Not a fan of some things happening in the world.
Yeah, and they were also speaking out politically.
Right.
And I think that was something else, like Pride, hearing that, and then and Bad.
Bad. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
One of their greatest
but
ever.
I read through just now, and man, just from top to bottom, it's like just amazing listen. That's the other thing about it is you can sit and just give it a full listen.
Yes.
And it's great. It's consistent, and then.
So this is fourth of 15 for them, studio record wise, including one that they put out this year.
Really? The acoustic.
Yes, which is the third Songs of Fill in the Blank record, right? Let's see here.
Yeah, if I had to pick another influential U2 album, it would be Achtung Baby.
Okay, that's the only other.
And that was another shift, I think, in the way they made. It reminded me of this album, of like, okay, because they had just done Rattle and Hum, and and I remember in the movie, the guy asks him, "What has happened between now and then they all just start laughing." You remember that?
No,
Yeah.
I haven't seen that since
Since it was released.
Yeah.
And so they just kind of laugh at the question. And then they put that on the album too, I think. But they were one of these bands who could reinvent themselves.
Right.
Like Bowie, like
Sure.
Bob Dylan,
So Songs of Innocence in 14, Songs of Experience in 17, and then Songs of Surrender is a re-release acoustic that just came out in March.
Cool.
But yeah, man, Bad is so good. Pride is so good. The whole thing, 10 songs, 43 minutes. It's really bizarre that it'll be 40 years old next year.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, because it's still. I mean, it was an incredible listen when it came out, but it still is right now.
Yeah,
I mean, talk about something aging well.
Right. And Pride, I used to go in the garage and I would try to sing. That was one of the first songs that I tried to sing along with and really try to. But Bono, he was hitting notes I couldn't hit.
Right.
Right. So I'd be out in the garage screaming "In the Name of Love,"
Yeah. The neighbors are like, there's YouTube covers and square dance instruction happening over there. I'm not really sure. Interesting in a way that I'm not quite sure how I feel about it, but Eno and Lanois get producer credits, but then they also get song,
like songwriting credit.
Yeah, well, their listing is additional vocals, instruments, treatments. And it says the same for both of them. And it's like, okay, I mean, I get it, but it seems a little peculiar to have yourself on there twice.
It's a little extra.
Yeah. But such a good one. And then to 87, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me.
Yeah. And that was probably, that album. Yeah. So definitely when I went and got this cassette, I knew got to keep this one. And she found it and was like, "What is this?"
And what is it about it that she didn't?
I think it was the lip.
Okay.
I think it was just the lip. I don't know where the camera can
right.
see it.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I remember feeling disappointed in her for questioning me on it, and not really understanding the anger.
Haven't I shown you a good track record of being a good kid?
Yeah, right. And just not understanding where the anger was coming from. It was really bizarre. But yeah, I loved, I would just come home after school and I had like a couple hours to myself. So I would listen to this album and then just sit and try to play along with it on my acoustic guitar. And I think I was around maybe 15 or 16.
And you could, I mean, the way that the sound and the tone and the production of that record is not like much else that we've heard before. So for me, the untrained ear, like picking up chords within that sound spectrum and then knowing where to place them on the acoustic guitar sounds like trying to teach myself, Russian or something.
Yeah. It was definitely, and it was learning, like a lot of the solos are done on one string.
Okay.
And
that's
so
helpful.
So that's how I was trying to mimic that. And then I remember I also like Jumping Somebody Else's Train. I had heard that song, and I think Killing an Arab, I'd heard that. So, and then when I think I learned to play Just Like Heaven.
Okay. All right.
I learned the chords to that. And probably by going to a music store and finding the book and looking
at the what do you call that?
The tab.
The tablature, right?
But this was actually like where they had the music written out.
Okay.
And I would go, because I knew from playing the keyboard, you can go get these books and it will show you the chords. So I was learning these songs, which later was like great for high school parties.
I bet, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is 7 of 13 for them, 17 songs, 72 minutes. The Apple Music blurb said that Robert Smith opened up the songwriting process to make it a little bit more democratic. And immediately the material came so fast that they had a double album.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's kind of like, well,
So they all wrote other
Well, I think that it was more of a collective effort than just these are the songs
Okay.
that I wrote.
Yeah.
I didn't dig too deep, but it
Yeah.
sounds like the records prior to this one were mostly kind of steered by him and forged by him, and everybody else just kind of does their parts. But
Yeah.
you open the door, and all of a sudden it's like, we have a double album. We have so much material. It's like, yeah, dude.
Nice. Yeah,
Um,
that's cool.
So, second Cure record that's been featured, I mentioned, I think already, somebody picked Disintegration, which was the one that would follow this one. And this, I mean, there is a really bizarre contrast between the opening track and track number 2. I mean, like opposite ends of the spectrum.
Right.
And it's kind of, oh, all right, well,
Yeah.
which direction is this thing going to go?
Yeah.
And I saw a couple spots say that this was their considered their breakthrough success in the States.
Yeah.
Obviously, Just Like Heaven is,
Still a classic.
yeah, fantastic tune. So this one holds a special place for you just because of the trip to purchase it, and then the trying to teach yourself, and
every day spending time with it, and then also like the musicality of it, that it did have like tracks like the opening one, and then going into the second song, I'd forgotten about that, how it's just kind of long and going on and on and on, and then like hot.
It has some funk in it.
Yeah. And
there's One More
exactly.
Time has a riff in it that is very familiar, but I can't play it because I think it opens up like it's a big chunk of instrumental.
Yeah.
And then you don't get lyrics until about the halfway point. But there's a riff in there.
Yes.
I was like, that has been in a movie or a commercial or something.
I think I know what you're talking about.
And then Icing Sugar is explorative, while that's track 13, and then track 14, The Perfect Girl is like kind of poppier.
Yeah.
I mean, they're sort of within, I guess if you want to call it their own sound, the Cure sound.
Yeah.
They're still sort of genre jumping within their own sound, which is
right.
Admirable.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
How about any others of theirs? Did you stick with them for a little while?
Yeah, I did. I stuck with them through, came back to them in college.
Sure.
And so it, they've always kind of been around. I still listen to the Cure Pandora station.
Nice.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. I never saw them live though, and I've still, that's something I would love to do.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So we leap ahead a few years, 1991, Nevermind.
Yeah.
And, I don't know which one it is, but if Pearl Jam 10 is the 1A anthem for Gen X, then this is 1B.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the other way around, and this is 1A and Pearl Jam's 1B, but either way, monster album.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
we're still kind of we've almost come 10 years from Thriller, and MTV's still putting out music videos, not for much longer,
Right.
But I mean,
Yeah.
I can see that,
Yeah.
janitor, mop bucket, cheerleader from Smells Like Teen Spirit, like it was yesterday,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a million things you could say about this record, but
Yeah.
that opening riff, To Come As You Are, track 3,
Yeah.
that's like the birthplace for that whole sound for me. I know there was shit before, but I mean, that is such an iconic little ditty there.
Yeah, for sure. I heard Smells Like Teen Spirit come on the AM radio on the metal station.
Whoa.
That I used to
AM
listen-
metal.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a Kansas City, I don't know which station, but they would play metal, so I was listening to that. I was right when I started at Avila, and I was driving down 435, and I remember distinctly Smells Like Teen Spirit comes on, and I'm like, what is this?
Right.
And immediately recognizing it as the new sound has begun.
Right.
The 90s, here it is.
Yep.
Here's what we've been waiting for. that we weren't getting with like The Cure or some of the new wave stuff like New Order. Some of that would get edgier, but it was still the electronic stuff. And so to hear like instruments that were normally associated with classic rock or punk too, or like the Ramones too, but now hearing it played like this and like in these like minors and sharps or whatever, these different kind of chordings, and with the grooves that Cobain was creating, or all of them really, I mean all of them,
right?
And I immediately got this album and was just like, wow, just totally taken by it and loved, and just would play it over and over and over and over.
Absolutely.
And learned how to play the songs. And
nice.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah, and this was definitely one that, this is part of like, I think between freshman and sophomore year, actually. And then I remember a friend driving up to me. I was in the parking lot of a record store out at State Line, 103rd and State Line.
Okay.
A friend pulls up in his car and he goes, "Did you hear Kurt Cobain shot himself?" And I'm like, "What?"
Whoa.
And it was just like, wow. And just like that, he was gone.
Yeah.
So here was this guy who was quickly becoming like my hero, and then boom, he's gone.
Dang.
So that was another thing about, that. So I mean, they had released another album.
Yeah. Do you have Bleach and In Utero? Do you have opinions about those?
Yeah, I mean, I like them. They're, it's interesting to listen to Bleach, different drummer, so it's interesting to hear what they were trying to achieve. I also read Kurt Cobain's journal that he did when he was keeping it for this album, and when he was actually kind of planning everything out. He had this album in mind. He drew this album cover. He visualized all of this, and it was from his experiences of doing Bleach, and kind of getting an introduction to the Seattle music scene and the industry through that.
Is this a thing that you can purchase, this journal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm, yeah. And so basically, it's cool because he goes through, where he's writing about, and then you'll see like a song, and things like that, so.
Did you happen to see, I won't be able to pull up the name, but a very well-established long-time music writer, because the 30-year anniversary of this record's release just happened a couple years, and so he put out this big long piece about spending like tons of time with Cobain. Like he's hanging with him for the purposes of writing a feature piece, or maybe multiple pieces, or maybe even a biography. But the piece that he put out is really, really insightful, and a fantastic read. If I can dig it up, I'll send it to you.
Cool.
But man, so listen, if you put it on today, how do you feel about how it has aged? It's a thing we like to say.
I just played through it the other night. I
Okay.
put it on guitar tabs and then had the whole album.
Okay.
And just roughly played through the whole thing.
Sure.
And kind of, it was fun, to relive it that way. And then I also listened to the whole thing again I listen to a lot of music now, like oddly, when I want to go to an album, I just go to YouTube and pull up the album and listen to it there.
Yeah.
So I listened to it there just on my phone, and it's an awesome album.
It is awesome.
It's an inspiring
album. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Okay. This is another don't even know how to measure the scope of this record. But I remember, of course, hearing Creep, and then somebody suggesting that I give the Bends a listen, and I tried it. I didn't try very hard.
Yeah.
But I kind of was like, that's not for me. And then this record came out, and I don't think I heard it like immediately, but I definitely had a copy of it within a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I swear, like an entire summer.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like, and I was going through some stuff and really struggling, and this was like a crutch.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
1997, Radiohead, OK Computer.
Yeah.
Third of 9 for them, 12 songs, 54 minutes, just a phenomenal record.
Yeah.
How much of a Radiohead fan are you?
So at the time, I remember 96, 97, like listening to The Bends and Creep. And then that was kind of my introduction into Radiohead. And then I think in the fall of 97, I went to Paris.
Oh.
And so that was cool because I actually got to go to Europe. And then that, I don't know, that just had an impact on me that I realized how much of the world I was just totally didn't even know about, and you know, how, I don't know, it was a good experience, and so when I came back from that, went through some changes and stuff, and then this album comes up, and so I was dating someone at the time, and we used to sit on the front porch in the summer and like listen to this album and like have parties and play this album, and just play Radiohead while we were all sitting around drinking on the front porch, and it just was one of those albums that was like, you would hear it everywhere. You were just hearing it on the radio, you were hearing it in coffee shops, and people were having parties and playing the music, in the background, and that was wild, and then ended up single in an apartment, and whenever that's happened in my life, I just dive into music and learning music, and so I just spent a ton of time with Radiohead during that year. And that's kind of how I am with artists. Like I'll deep dive and just, if they really talk to me, if their music speaks to me, if it touches me in some way, then
Sure.
I want to know who they are, where
Right.
they come from. I'll write them letters. I used to write Fugazi letters. I've also written the Indigo Girls letters and had them write back,
Nice.
Very so
cool.
I mean, and this was, I didn't write a letter to Radiohead, but this was definitely one of those bands that, yeah.
Man.
But yeah.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy quote, OK Computer, I'd like to have full manual control now, is where the
Oh, really?
title comes from.
I didn't know that.
Which is like absolutely bananas, terrifying concept, especially right now with ChatGPT and AI and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
I
actually see as great. I love AI. And
Sure.
I think that the way we're going to excel with AI is when we're working in tandem with it, and not just giving it full control.
Yeah.
I really see that as the future, that it's not going to become like your attorney. Your attorney, the human, will turn to AI for reference.
Okay, I like that.
If they're good at what they do.
Right.
Or a doctor will utilize AI to look for cancer in a,
Do you ever consume any Lex Friedman? He's he's got to be up there in the world of podcasting. But I mean, he's a fascinating. He appears to be a fascinating human in that he's pretty soft spoken and monotone, and suit and tie, and not an older fella. I mean, he's not young, but has like crazy, like huge names, and has like long form conversations with them. And recently, I just see some of his stuff on TikTok. I don't seek it out yet. I might start. But he had some young kid that's like the CEO of 4 or 5 of these. I mean, all of these AI companies.
Oh, really?
And like just the little blips of their conversation was like, I could not get enough. It was really, really fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's like you kind of keep thinking, okay, the internet. We have email. Oh, the internet. Oh, we have social media, and it's kind of always feels like there couldn't be more that we could do, and then all of a sudden, like, we have Instagram and TikTok, and now AI, and I mean,
so a lot has happened. Especially like I think with just even crypto and NFTs, I got into it. And,
really?
Yeah. And, I bought NFTs and now they're not worth anything.
No, for
but
real?
it's just fun. Like, I think it's great because maybe eventually they will be,
right.
So
an NFT is like a digital
non-fungible token. So it's supposedly a one-of-a-kind creation, digital, one-of-a-kind digital creation.
Okay.
And everybody says, well, you can just snap a photo of it and, and make a copy of it or whatever. But there's records behind that this is the one and only and all this stuff. And so I think like the novelty of it, like, was like, wow, cool. But then immediately it became like a lot of things, they start out like, oh, this is great, this is the future, and then it goes to trash.
Right.
And it's just like, becomes inundated with everybody wanting to get a piece of that pie, and then immediately the value drops.
Right.
Because it's no longer,
Yeah. Well, I think so I do the same thing, like Van Halen, Led Zeppelin, all these artists in my youth. It's like 1984, okay, I've got, now I need to know all the rest of the Van Halen.
Yes.
So I'm going to own all those records. And, if you do that enough, you wind up buying your handful of duds that have like a song you really, really love, but the rest of the record just doesn't speak to you.
Yeah.
So after doing that for so many years, whenever I think, even maybe now, still a little bit, when I put on a first listen, I think that I'm approaching it with, there's probably a couple of good tracks in here, and then who knows about the rest.
Yeah.
This thing opens with Airbag, goes into Paranoid Android with, high intensity and that ultimate transition, which is a 1-2 punch, like, no disrespect to The Cure and that funky 1-2 punch. This is like a literal 1-2 punch to I mean, it is.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay. that they they blew the proverbial wad with tracks 1 and 2. Well, then you got Subterranean Homesick Alien, which is stunning and gorgeous, and it's kind of like, all right, well, everything else is gonna suck from here, right? And then Exit Music for a Film is just, and it's got that monster build in it, and it's so powerful. And then Let Down, Karma. I mean, that opening riff for Let Down, I mean, goosebumps every time. There's so much. Karma Police is kind of a beacon of emotionality and all of this insanity and beauty that's happening with this record.
This album led me to want to record and start making albums.
Nice.
And I did shortly after this. I started, well, I mean, I kind of had started on a 4-track recorder. I tried to do stuff in college, but I actually sought out a guy, and we did an album in his basement. And like, he brought in a drummer to sit in, like, cause I mean, I was really fresh into it, but in 97, I did this album, and a lot of it was influenced by this, and just that, like, okay, I've heard the Beatles do it, I've heard Pink Floyd do it, and now I'm hearing Radiohead do it, and man, I want to go do this. I want to try to make an album that has these kind of layers and this kind of musicality, and it just becomes like this quest. But then also, I talked to a guy named Chris Hudson, who's a local musician and does a lot in Kansas City. And he said, we all kind of form this web of like that first song, like Stairway to Heaven, or what the song. And then as songwriters, we go on to try to recreate that experience through our own music, and try to reach that pinnacle of songwriting.
Absolutely.
Definitely for just all of these songs, it's like, man, if I could only write music like that,
Well, personally, I always kind of check out for 7, 8, and 9. It's the Fitter, Happy, and then Electioneering, I think, is in there. But track 10, No Surprises, kind of sets the record back on its feet again. And then Lucky, track 11, I always feel like it's this feeling of returning to safety from danger. And then when you're in the safe space reflecting upon the danger that you're in, it brings it all back up again. You kind of have a cry about what almost was your demise or whatever. And then, I mean, it's almost like they invented new emotions with this album. I mean, just
well,
phenomenal.
I noticed a lot of like maybe more existentialism coming out in the music, or where it definitely makes you feel that way. And then with, that fitter, happier, a pig in a cage tied to, it's like, oh God, is this what I'm becoming?
Right.
And then I think, didn't Fight Club release shortly after, around this time?
I think so. Yeah.
So yeah.
Crazy.
And
Well,
it was in the zeitgeist. I guess,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So really just phenomenal list. Any honorable mentions you want to throw out
For other
records?
albums?
Yeah.
Gosh. Yeah, it's wild to take this trip down memory lane, it really is, especially with the visual. It really is. I think we kind of talked about them all in between,
Sure.
like the other U2 albums and stuff like that. But these are the ones that really, in terms of like, I would say if I had to just come up with 5, when you asked me that, I was like, okay, what albums kind of, and surprisingly, I was like, wow, Thriller. Yeah, I remember getting that. And then when I just started thinking through it chronologically, it was like this one and this one,
nice.
And how that kind of led to me, wanting to get into the studio.
Yeah.
And
well, so you've you were reared in a home that had music and encouraged, the development of your own musicianship.
Yeah.
And then you're in bands and experiencing the world of creating music, but while still listening to music. And then, you listen to a record like this and you have that, I feel compelled to want to record. And now you're sort of in the throes of freshness with a new project, which I gotta believe comes with challenges and rewards. And so, if you were pinned to give a message to folks that are starting from scratch, for the first time, what would you tell them?
Well, I would say the thing about, if you have a dream, write it down and make it a goal and then set steps to reach that goal. If you want to release an album, you're going to need songs, you're going to need to know how to play the instrument. And so if you have that covered, you might need a band or you might need to hire people.
Right.
If you have that covered, you need a studio.
Right.
You need to decide where you want to do it and who you want to be in control of that, or you're giving that control to.
Right.
And so I think that's like the most valuable advice I could give someone, because that's something I didn't know. It's just I had dreamed about doing this like since high school,
right.
Or even before. I want to be a musician and I want to sing on stage, but I didn't know I could write that down and actually start following steps.
Sure.
And so it's always kind of felt like, I guess this might happen, and then life happens. You got to get a job, you got to start paying bills and all that, so it's really, you have to come to some acceptance, I think, with that. I had to do that, as like, I'm not just going to have everything handed to me.
No, right.
Nobody's going to like write a check for me to go off somewhere, not even like the big name who reached out. He wanted me to write that check, and so it's like, it's, you got to really work for it.
Right.
And, but I think by having goals and like, setting, goals like I would eventually like to be played on the radio,
sure,
or whatever, I think all of that is obtainable,
right? You got to believe.
Yeah, you do. You have to believe in yourself, and
you got to put in the work.
It's not just going to happen,
No.
Like, I mean, I've been doing this for now, 40 years.
Right,
So
right.
like, and then professionally for like 30 years.
All the way back
you
to the
know.
Unforgettable Fire, you know?
Yeah, in the garage.
Yeah.
But like, I started playing out in college, going to coffee houses, and I used to play at Barnes and Noble down on the plaza.
Oh, wow.
And,
Nice.
I was one of the only people who played down there, and then they ASCAP and BMI shut them down from doing live music.
man.
And,
Okay.
so I was doing coffee houses in the 90s, and I had bands back then, and so it's just a process.
Yeah.
But everything you do, no matter what you create, if you sit at home and you record something live on a tape recorder, or well, I'm dating myself, but do it on your phone and upload it to YouTube,
Sure.
or you do a TikTok, that is definitely, gosh, in this day and age, you could literally like have an idea, put it on TikTok, and that could go viral, and there you go.
It has. It has.
That's happened. And so, it's become now more than easier, I think. And it's weird. It's both, like both sides of that, right? Like it's easier to get yourself out there, but it's also everybody's trying to do that.
Yes, it's a saturated market.
So it's saturated,
Yeah. It's like, hey, there's a new thing you can get in. Oh, saturated.
Yep.
Yeah.
But if you believe in yourself and this is what you need to do to keep your sanity or keep your mental health, or you know what I mean? Because
Right.
I can't not do music.
Right.
I can't stop playing guitar and stop songwriting and just say I'm not going to do that anymore.
Right.
That's impossible for me. So,
Very cool. Well, so did we came full circle on the Roger Miller piece, right?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jason Buice.
Yes.
Buice.
Yeah.
You're searchable on Bandcamp, and you can find both sides.
Yeah.
Right.
And I did an album during quarantine. It was called Triptych, and it was just songs that I recorded on my phone on GarageBand.
Okay.
And I was seeing how short I could make a song, but
Interesting.
still give it body.
Right.
And then I took like 5 of these little small songs that I had created and released a really low quality, it's like a single more or less, I call Triptych.
Cool.
So that's on there too. And then I did a single called When I Die
Okay.
last year, and I recorded that with Till Willis. And I have a song on there called Green Light Glow, and then When I Die.
Okay.
And so that was a single.
Have
that
you
I
ever
did last
listened
year.
to Double Nickels on the Dime by the Minutemen?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't know.
It's somebody picked it for their it was a part of somebody's list, and it's well, I think Mike Watt is one of the musicians.
Oh, cool.
The front man, I think, has passed away, and they only put out like 4 records, but that Double Nickels on the Dime is a double album, and I mean, average song length is like 209.
Oh,
you know,
really?
I mean, so there's a lot, and there's a lot of body and quality in the shortest amount. Anyway, it's an interesting one to check out.
Cool.
But so that's your personal Bandcamp. That all that stuff can be heard there. Correct.
Yeah, and then on SoundCloud is Independent.
Okay,
and that's under my name. And then and there's like probably there's 1, 2. I think there's 3 albums out there that if anyone can find, send them my way, because I don't have them anymore.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh, going back to that. Dang.
And so
wow.
And like I know certain friends, there's people out there who definitely have some stuff, but it's very limited run.
Sure.
And it's early Jason Buice,
right?
So that's out there too. But I don't know where.
Right.
You know.
But the current thing, Chowk, CHOWK, has an Instagram, has a Facebook.
Yeah, Chowk Band on Instagram.
Okay.
And then, but that's mostly where I'm doing, I think, most of our social media from.
Sure.
From there.
Okay.
Because Instagram just seems to be a great way to connect,
It does.
I think TikTok can be too, but with all this talk of like if they're going to take it away or not, I didn't want to start a TikTok and then have it just be,
Yeah.
But it's just so weird. But Instagram is great, and so we're there, and then we're doing the Bandcamp. We're going to
Sure.
release through there. So we have that, but we haven't really, it's just the basics right now.
But the Chalk Instagram account is the place to be if you want to find out when stuff gets released or if there's gigs happening,
for announcements
or
and all
whatever.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool, man. I really can't thank you enough. I mean,
thank you for having me.
It's one thing, if I know a person on some level, but for a perfect stranger,
we don't know each other
right?
at all.
To come and do this and to have a drive both ways. Seriously appreciate it. I'm eager to sort of follow the development of the band as things build, and
Good.
If you want to come back and do another one, whether it be to talk Chalk stuff or talk about more albums or whatever. I mean, I'd love to have you back sometime down the road. And when
it would be cool to like meet up in a year. And I used to ask people, where do you want to be a year from now?
Right.
And it would be cool to meet up in a year and be able to tell you, since the interview, well, this is, because this is literally, you're catching us in the first month of being a band.
Wow. Right.
So it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's kind of why I wanted to do this too, to mark this time,
Right. And somehow that one definition of, of Chalk. How did
we're paths cross?
We're paths cross. You're kind of doing your thing. I'm kind of doing the thing.
Exactly.
And here you are sitting in my basement with me.
Exactly. Yeah. No, and that's what really got to Dane and I, because we, we're coming from just totally different, areas and all this stuff, but then our paths cross. And,
right.
You make these connections, and just how much that's happened in my life, or also the idea of a roundabout. There's a lot of roundabouts that I drive around every day, and so it's always interesting to think about that concept of how that can send you in a different direction,
right?
So listening to us, you come upon an album that sends you off, and,
right? Well,
so
thank you, Jason Buice. Check out Chalk on Instagram. Keep your eyes peeled for the Bandcamp to have some
to
stuff
grow and
on
flourish
it at some point. Look forward to it, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Bye.